All right, so today I want to discuss an article that was made of somebody sent me on Twitter. It's from Mashable, and the article says, "No, you shouldn't be allowed to fix your own phone. Right to repair is a dumb idea." And in the URL it says, "Right to repair is ridiculous." And I'm not going to attack the article from the biased standpoint of, I am a repair technician, so you're wrong and an idiot, blah, blah, blah. I'd really like to analyze what it is that Lance here had to say so that we can go through rationally and empirically to decide why it is that everything written here is just really, really wrong. And I'm going to show you how the points that Lance brings up in his own article actually counter his own article's title, rather than just randomly crap on a piece of legislation without actually doing any reading. So I would like to provide an example here of what real journalists and real journalists should be doing. And we're going to talk a little bit about what separates real journalists from low-quality blogs. So let's just read through the article. So it says, "My coworker Tracy held her iPhone like a baby bird with a bent wing." And this entire paragraph, long story short, says that she had the screen replaced. After she had the screen replaced by iCracked, that the phone started to expand, it got hot, and it burned her ear. So let's just go through this. And there are a couple of points in the article that I'd like to address first. So the first point that I want to get to here is right to repair. What a ridiculous thing to say. No one has the right to repair anything. And now this is a really important statement to address before we get to any other part of the article. When you say that no one has the right to repair anything, you really have to define what the word repair means. So the word repair means to open up a device and then take something that's not working and make it work again. So when you say that nobody has the right to repair, what you're really saying is that nobody has the right to open something that they own, which and when you say that, if you say that somebody does have the right, that's one thing. But when you say that somebody does not have the right to do something, there's a very high burden of proof there. So what is it that you're suggesting? Are you suggesting that there should be laws against somebody opening up something that you own? How would you enforce a law that suggests that somebody should not be allowed to open something that they own? This is very, very, very dangerous language and a very damning statement. So let's say a fuse blows in my thermostat. Is Lance saying that I don't have the right to take it off my wall and put a new one in? If a battery dies in my $700 phone, are you suggesting that stormtroopers come to my home if I open it up to replace my battery? If my radiator hose is leaking, do I not have the right to replace it with one that I bought at Home Depot? I want you to really think about the consequences of the words that are being used here. If I don't have the right to repair, you're suggesting in a totalitarian fashion that I'm barred from using a screwdriver to open a device that I've purchased. And I want you to think for a moment about just how ridiculous that is. If we don't have the right to this, then who does? If this right is not afforded to me, then who is to keep those who have the right to repair from declining it and instead offering me a new device at a rate far higher than economical independent repair? Now, let's just scroll back to the top here. So it says, "My coworker Tracy held her iPhone like a baby bird with a bent wing. I stared at the dark screen. The device was still on, but stuck somewhere between living technology and a dead iPhone." This is the standard stuff that you would put into an article to fluff it up and make something that should be 1 page into 5 pages so that you get your commission from Mashable. But to get to the point here, the phone was repaired. After it was fixed, it got really hot, it expanded, and it stopped working. So this is an important point here because this is a criticism. It says the phone was obviously dangerous, and letting them touch it again probably wouldn't help. In fact, I thought it might hurt. So let's just scroll on to the rest of this article here. So at one point, he says, and you can hand people all the schematics, instructions, and parts you want, and they still won't be able to replace an iPhone battery or screen. Now, I know somebody, Jerry Rig Everything. If you look him up here, his subscriber count is growing amazingly every day, as it should. He's very good at what he does. He takes these phones apart. If you're not aware of his channel, you should be, and if my internet allows me to actually load it, I will show it to you. So he has 708,000 subscribers. When he does a video on how to take apart a phone to show you how to fix it yourself, these videos all get 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 views. There are a lot of people using these videos to fix their own phone. So when you say that, people are not going to be able to replace your battery if you show them how to, I'm confident that if you scroll through the comments of these videos, you will find lots of people who are thankful that he's made them, and you're going to find a lot of people who are very, very successful. Unfortunately, since I have New York City internet, scrolling through these comments is a complete and utter nightmare. But I'll leave it up to you to do that. And I would also leave it up to you to find any independent example of anybody who's ever replaced a battery in their own phone. Millions and millions of dollars of batteries sell on eBay every year from sellers that have great positive feedback. This would not be happening if that was something that most people cannot do. There's this statement that says you can hand people the schematics, instructions, and parts they want, and they won't be able to replace an iPhone battery or screen. You really need to provide proof or citations when you make a statement like that. And as you can see, there is no citation here. There's nothing. It's not. It's just, again, it's one of those examples of somebody walking up to a table where two people are talking and just throwing up on the table. There's no evidence. There's nothing here to say that this makes any sense. Now, let's go over to, there was one other argument. As soon as you open that phone, you can probably kiss any real waterproofing you might have had goodbye. And now, this is just, I don't understand where this is a compelling argument. What would you rather have? You have two choices. I'm going to give you two choices here. Ready? What's worse? Owning a working phone that is no longer fully waterproofed, or owning a doorstop because the $10 battery died in a $700 smartphone, and the manufacturer refuses to replace it because they cite it as a vintage model. Manufacturer repair is an option, but very often it's not an option. Sometimes it's not because the cost of the I'm kind of hungry, so I lost my train of thought there. Sometimes the manufacturer repair is an option, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not an option because the cost of the repair is greater than the cost of the new device, and in some cases with certain companies, Apple, it's not available at all, because what they will do is they'll say, this is a vintage device. So you have these devices that, were made at, in like 2011, 2012, which is not that old if you don't use your smartphone to play the latest video games, and you cannot get a replacement battery from them because they consider that vintage. Vintage no longer means a vinyl record from the 70s. Vintage no longer means a black and white TV. Vintage means that your phone is a few years old, so fuck you, you're not getting a battery. Now, this is a right of preference, but I would rather have a working device that has less liquid resistance than have a dead phone. Unfortunately, that doesn't fit the narrative of this terribly written article, so it's not something they would mention. But I would urge you to ask yourself, what is more valuable? A phone that is not waterproof or a phone that is dead? Again, let's just go over to the rest of this article. We're going to save the best for last, but it says the typical consumer gamely trying to repair their iPhone wouldn't get that far in. They'd struggle to open the device and probably wouldn't know how to unplug the front panel that includes both the LCD and the glass screen cover. I'm going to pray that this little crappy $400 laptop I'm using will actually show you some of this stuff in real time. But if we do YouTube, jerry-rig, everything, he has some very well done videos. Let's just show you how you replace the screen in an iPhone. Because, again, he's saying that the average person is just not going to be able to do this. It is going to be impossible. So I'm just going to mute it so I don't get feedback and junk. So let's just take a look at what's required to open this. And again, I pray to the open broadcaster God that this actually lets me show you this without freezing. So, first we use a screwdriver to remove two screws on the bottom. Then you use a suction cup to pull on the front. And then you use a little pry tool. And, again, if you're doing this at home, maybe you use something else that'll fit in there. But again, that pry tool is about $2. Okay, so right here it says the typical customer would struggle to open the device and wouldn't know how to unplug the panel. So opening the device is removing two screws and then using a suction cup and pulling up. Now let's fast forward to unplugging. Unplugging those cables is As simple as, I mean, it's as simple as unplugging something from a wall. Unplugging those cables is something that anybody with fingernails is capable of. If you have short fingernails like Zach does in this video over here, you can always use a little spudger. So what this person is saying is that you are too dumb to use a screwdriver. You're too dumb to pull one piece off of another, and then he's saying that you're too dumb to unplug something. He's not even saying that you're too dumb to solder. He's not saying that you're too dumb to program. He's not saying that you're too dumb to figure shit out. He's saying that you are so dumb that you cannot unplug something with your fingernail. I don't understand what world Lance lives in. I don't understand if every device in his apartment uses wireless charging. I don't understand. Like, do you plug your laptop into a wall at the end of the day, or does your fucking intern at Mashable do it for you? This is just the peak of just ridiculousness. There are people that would not change their own radiator hose, but there are also people that would do all their home plumbing themselves. The same way there are people who would be scared of opening a phone, then there are others who would easily replace the screen, the battery, and the flex inside of an hour with the assistance of a do-it-yourself video, of which there are many. And again, Zach has told me when I've met him, this is his full-time job. He is not doing this as a hobby. This is not, a college kid who's just doing videos at night to get some extra weed money. This is a genuine living. He makes a living opening phones, showing you how to repair them, and then getting millions upon millions. I think it's somewhere around 6 to 12 billion views a month on his how-to videos. People are watching this. People are learning. And if you read the comments on Zach's Instagram and on Zach's YouTube channel, you will see that by far people are succeeding. Now, let's go. Well, what else is there in this article? What else do we have? Let's see, there was something on moving parts. Here we go. It's not that I don't believe in better built products and repairability. We need tightening against planned obsolescence cycles. TV sets that once lasted 25 years now fail after 5. I'm also a tinkerer. I've taken apart everything from VCRs to BlackBerry curved phones and their classic scroll buttons. By the way, this should give you an idea of just how up to date he is on technology. Again, VCRs, BlackBerry curved phones, with the knowledge of repair, if he has any knowledge of repair, is 1980s to 2007. When I see moving parts, I think repairability. Today's phones have almost no moving parts. At least the iPhone 6 had a movable button. The iPhone 7 and 7 Plus don't even have that. And again, this is where I talk about real journalism and fake blogger nonsense. This is as willfully ignorant as it gets. Moving parts means repairability. How about C5202RF that dies in every iPhone 6 if it's been outside on a rainy day? How about Touch IC failures in the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus that Apple ignored for nearly 2 years? This is not a moving part. There were lawsuits about this. There are articles about this. They are now covering this under some extended plan. It's still BS because you got to pay $149 to fix it. But Apple is, again, this is a thing. Touch ICs don't have moving parts. Ball grid array chips are not moving parts, and they break constantly. This concept that a device is, there's no point even getting into repair because you don't need to because they don't have moving parts is just the most willfully ignorant statement I could imagine in an article about tech and repair. What about drop damage? What about liquid damage? What about parts that expire over time, like batteries? A battery is not a moving part, and that is the original part that requires maintenance the most in any device over the past 50 years. It's the part that is guaranteed to die even if you use the device as it is intended and never abuse it, and it is completely ignored by Lance, this very willfully ignorant blogger. And I am very careful when I use the word journalist versus the word blogger. I would never want to mistakenly call him a journalist. So let's... And again, like, what else can we think of here that doesn't have moving parts? How about charge ports? I mean, are we even thinking about wear and tear from stationary parts that do not move, but that have things put in and out of them? I mean, how about screens that crack? How about headphone jacks? Has anybody ever broken off their headphone plug in the headphone jack? And call me crazy. I don't feel like dealing with Bluetooth headphones yet. And as this article has pointed out, that we are at a point where the battery is glued into the device. Repair is more important now than it's ever been, because what used to be considered basic maintenance, which is just popping off a lid and swapping a battery, is now in and of itself repair. Your Game Boy we did not consider replacing the battery repair. You popped off a lid, you sprung out the batteries, you put new ones in. A 6-year-old could do it. I remember when I was 6, I was able to buy my own batteries and put them in the Game Boy. It was a very easy thing to do. Now, it is actually a repair process. You have to take apart layers of glued stuff. It is now more important now than ever to have a bill that is about the right to repair. We want to know how to get into these devices, but more importantly, when you use a non-standard battery that we cannot buy at the store, we want the ability to buy known good batteries. Right now, hundreds of millions of batteries are selling on eBay every year. Hundreds of millions of these batteries are being sold every year for all different types of phones. We don't know if we're getting original batteries or not. Now, you're going to hear Apple make arguments in about a month or two where they're going to say that the right to repair is wrong because lithium-ion batteries can explode. You know what batteries are more likely to explode? Knockoffs. And do you know why people use knockoff batteries? They use knockoff batteries when they cannot buy the original battery. We want to know how to open the device so that we can get to it to repair this battery that you admit in your own article is now glued in, and we want the ability to replace batteries with known good ones and not junk. Again, this is where I say that this article is so poorly written that it is in and of itself its own rebuttal. Over here, it says that the device made a popping sound and it most likely expanded to cause the screen to crack and then burned her ear. What's going to get hot in the phone? The battery, the motherboard. What's going to cause that? A knockoff battery. And why do we get knockoff batteries? Because we cannot buy originals. Here it says the right to repair is ridiculous. That is in the URL of this video. Right to repair is ridiculous. This paragraph here provides 2 great reasons for the right to repair. How about give people access to parts that are not going to burn and expand? That is the entire experience discussed in this paragraph is the very thing that we are looking to combat with this bill. And if you actually read the bill, if you actually read any of the arguments in favor of this bill, rather than writing the article with a decision that you made prior to even opening up Word, you would realize that this is the point, that this is the purpose. So let's just continue scrolling through the article. And, my track, come on, cursor. Where's my cursor? Where's my cursor? All right. What was the next part? All right. Opponents contend that Apple's fighting right to repair legislation because it wants to protect trade secrets. But which ones exactly? Blah, blah, blah. I'm fine with that. Apple wanting to protect some details of its iPhone technology is no different than Kentucky Fried Chicken trying to protect its secret recipe. I would say that that is, again, BS. We don't want to know how KFC makes the chicken. We don't want to know KFC's recipe. We don't want to know any of that. We're in KFC. We want to know where the bathroom is so that we can take a piss after we're done with our meal. Right, Mr. Clinton? That's my kitty, and he's pissed at this crappy article. Let's just talk about trade secrets for a minute. I agree that manufacturers should not have to give away how they make a product. How they get something working out the door, they have a right to keep that secret. However, the term trade secret is being broadly applied where I believe it was never intended to be intended. But my head is, I need to get something to eat. I believe it's being broadly applied where it was never intended to be applied. So let's just take a recent example. I uploaded a video to YouTube of a repair on a liquid damaged MacBook Air. Fully working, but the keyboard and the trackpad weren't working. You couldn't type or move the mouse. I bring up a schematic that I had to obtain from some dark corner of the internet, and don't ask me where it is, just Google, wink, wink, cough, cough. And I showed a single page that revealed where the keyboard fuse was. I was called asking that video be taken down, and the argument used was that this was a trade secret. My argument is that this is not a trade secret. I don't believe for a second that anybody who was initially involved in defining the term trade secret intended it to keep people from replacing fuses on household devices. But this is where we are. How to keep RFI interference out of signal lines, that can be a trade secret. The precise earth metals used in the PCB construction, we can call that a trade secret. How to keep USB 3 interfering with Wi-Fi, that's a trade secret. How it's manufactured, trade secret. We're not looking to manufacture clones. We're not looking to design a better device based on their research. I respect that. But the location of a fuse, no, that is not a trade secret. 30 years ago, devices would have a case on it that said fuse in capital letters. Even if no manual were available, you didn't need a manual. The fuse was easily visible. And also, the components that you were replacing, not only were they all labeled, but they were practically the size of your finger. It was easy to find. Now you have a board that is the size of your hand, that has over 1,000 components on it, in that small space that's the size of your hand. And when I want to know where a fuse is on that board, I'm told it's a trade secret. I guarantee if I could go back in time and talk to those people that made these laws, that was never the initial intention of a trade secret. Does Lance understand what a trade secret is? Does he know what we're actually asking for? Does Lance, the blogger at Mashable, understand the difference between information necessary to manufacture an iPhone and information denoting the location of a fuse? I don't think he does, and I don't think he did any research before writing this terrible, terrible article. Now let's go over the part where this just gets really, really bad. I forget which part of the article that was. Let's see. Here we go. My memory is not what it used to be. Do-it-yourself disasters. I think it's a fair concern that right-to-repair laws could lead to an explosion of Radio Shack-like iPhone and Samsung electronics part shops. This is sad. Do you mean that this doesn't exist already? Are you saying that we can't go to eBay to purchase these parts? Right-to-repair legislation would not change what is already happening. Right-to-repair legislation is merely going to legitimize what is already happening and allow us to access known quality parts rather than play Russian roulette with knockoffs and forgeries. So, for example, over here, he's saying like that this right-to-repair law would cause parts to be sold that are good. He's complaining about that. Yet, in the second paragraph, he's complaining that a knockoff part burned her ear. So down here, he's complaining. Down here, he's complaining that if this bill passes, that repair shops will be able to buy good parts, known good parts. And over here, he is complaining about the results of a repair that was completed with bad parts. Anybody who has been in this industry for longer than a day knows that on the iPhone 6, if you plug in a knockoff screen, not only can they blow your backlight, but it can also start drawing too much power. It can start screwing up with the backlight circuit, which can cause the components to burn, which then causes the screen cracking and this popping and this burning sensation. Everything described in this paragraph right here is the result of low-quality parts. The right-to-repair bill that he calls ridiculous is designed to allow us access to the same repair parts that were used to make the phone. Yet right down here, he's complaining that would provide us with access to that. And that is just, that's very silly. This article is literally a rebuttal of itself. He is actually arguing why there should be a right-to-repair bill in the second paragraph of an article on why the right to repair is ridiculous. Now, what if a customer is injured during a failed repair attempt? They slice open a finger on the cracked glass or put it back together incorrectly so the battery fails and maybe even explodes. This is scary. So where was that exact sentence? Here we go. It's the customer's fault, obviously, but they could also try to sue Apple or Samsung. Now, there's some false stuff going on here. If we live in a society where people are so sue happy that they can sue Apple because while they were trying to fix their own phone on their own time, that they cut themselves. If somebody could sue Apple for that, couldn't they also sue Apple because they cut themselves when they put their cracked, broken phone to their face? If you're saying that I can sue Apple, if you think that lawsuit would actually go anywhere, that I could sue Apple because I cut myself while I was trying to fix a phone that I dropped, then I think we could also argue that in that fantasy world that Lance lives in, that we would also be able to sue Apple when we touch the phone to our face and we cut ourselves. What is I would say, what is a greater danger? Wearing gloves on a repair that you're prepared to do, that you're being careful about, or putting a cracked phone to your face while you're in public and with no protection at all. I would say the latter is more dangerous. Now, if we live in a world where neither would be able to win in court, then this is a completely moot point altogether. If we live in a world where people are not going to sue, which is the world that I do believe we live in, this is a moot point. If we live in a world where you can sue, then we live in a world where people are going to sue Apple anyway when the phone cuts their face. It says, Gordon Byrne laughed off my concern. I can't imagine someone going in to try and sue Apple for a finger cut when it's already clear that the phone has glass and that glass is fragile. Again, I agree with her completely. Now we have another one here. Where was the next point? The repair industry was the wild, wild west, and still is to some extent, said iCracked CEO and founder AJ Forsyth. All right, let's go into this. AJ is not a technician. If you look at the history of iCracked, anyone who pays $2,000 for the kit and the videos can become an iTech. There are hundreds of thousands of professional electronics repair people, and they're happy to service you. And yet Lance chose the franchise system with no vetting of newbies to represent the entire repair industry. By that line of thinking, I should suggest that online journalism is crap and that you don't have a right to write online because of Mashable blog posts. Who decided to choose iCracked when there are so many other businesses? Why would you choose iCracked and say, look, iCracked screwed up a phone. This franchise that lets anybody sign up to work for them. This franchise screwed up a phone. Yeah, guess what? This guy that didn't do any research is allowed to write a fucking article. Am I to say that online blogging should not be allowed? Should be censored? Should be put through some filter before it goes on the internet just because there's a couple of bad people in the industry? No, that's not the world that we live in. That's the world that Lance wants us to live in, though, and that is a very, very, very egregious. Ugh. All right, and let's go. Where else? Where else are we here? Are they the exact same parts that Apple uses? A lot of the time, they are the same, said Forsyth, but Apple is well known for forcing supply partners to sometimes subtly alter components just for them. Could Forsyth be certain that his LCD panels match Apple's? Let's see, what else was there? As far as we know, the supply chain team over there, they are wildly similar or the same, he told me. Again, this enters the realm of just complete misunderstanding. Lance paints iCracked in a critical light for the chance that they are not using original parts, while simultaneously slamming the legislation that would give him access to original parts. He explains that earlier in the article, after an iCracked repair, the phone got really hard and cracked. Let's say they are using knockoff parts. Why not give them access to parts that will not do that? This entire article is a great example of something called Dunning-Kruger syndrome. Dunning-Kruger is this idea that people of a very, very low intelligence are usually too low in intelligence to properly judge how low in intelligence they are. So they believe that they are smart and well-informed, and also since they believe that they are smart and well-informed because they are not a good judge of their own intelligence, they then are incredibly confident. Whereas people that are intelligent and well-informed they always believe that there's the possibility that there's something they don't know, that there's a possibility to learn more, and they know just how little they know. So very intelligent people are often not very confident, whereas the people on the very, very low end of the intelligence, on the IQ scale, are very, very confident, and they write articles like this. This entire article is criticizing AJ at iCracked for using knockoff parts. He's criticizing the repair that they were forced to do with knockoff parts because originals are not available. And then he says that you should not be able to buy parts, and that the very legislation that would allow us to buy parts is ridiculous. Again, this is Dunning-Kruger syndrome 101, and this is why you should never get information from these blogs, and you should let these blogs how you feel when they completely misrepresent groups of people and pieces of legislation that affect you. Because this, believe it or not, again, while this person did very, very little research into this, these posts do actually harm the cause. They misinform people, and it doesn't help anybody. It really doesn't help anybody. The only person that posts like this help are Lands and Mashable, because it gets clicks and it gets shared and it gets ad revenue, and that's all a lot of modern media really is. It's again, a lot of it is, it's people that don't create anything. As I said in the video a few days ago, the social rants, when I was talking about the whole PewDiePie thing, it's, you have a lot of people in modern media, they don't produce anything, they don't fix anything, they don't heal, they're not doctors, they're not plumbers, they're not farmers, they don't have to produce anything, they don't have to fix anything, they don't have real customers. People in modern media, their product is conflict. What they want to do is create controversy and conflict. And it is often the last resort of people that do not have any marketable skill set, that cannot provide anything to the real world, that they will provide conflict. It is hard to be a plumber. It is hard to be a doctor. It is hard to be a farmer. Even pumping gas is providing a service that requires work. But creating controversy is something that requires no skill. You cannot... It is the easiest job on earth, and it is why so many people are flocking to this field of just writing garbage, just puking it on the table without doing any research, because it's really easy to do. It doesn't, you can file a chargeback on somebody if they sell you something that doesn't work. I can file I can put a stop payment on a check to a plumber if my sink leaks again. If a farmer produces bad produce, a grocery store can say, we're not buying from you anymore, and we're fine, and we're reporting you. But here, there's no consequence. There is no consequence, because the worse the article is, the more controversy there will be. The more controversy there will be, the more ad revenue they get. This is one of the very few industries in modern society where bad behavior, doing a bad job, is actually rewarded, and it is just one of the, it's just one of the worst jobs there is, and that just appeals to the lowest in human society. I really do respect real journalists. I don't want to make it sound like I'm out to hate all bloggers. Investigative journalists, people who do their own research, people who actually uncover the truth, I respect you, and I wish that your work got even a quarter of the funding of people that produce this complete and utter horseshit. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind, that almost all modern media, they're not interested in providing the truth. They're interested in creating controversy. So let's see what we've got in the chat. I will get to your questions, and I will read what you have to say, and let's see what's here. I've been streaming for about 20, 30 minutes, and I haven't read a bit of chat. Let's see. Important questions. What is RPE in intermediate programming? Jess is trolling. Okay. Sean says, Lewis, this guy is a dipshit. He clearly doesn't understand that fixing anything comes with risk, but no more risk than you would get when buying new. Look at the S7 Note, new phone, but it still blew up. That's a very good point. You don't even have to be a repair person to open yourself to shit exploding. iPad Rehab says, I really think this guy was a paid troll. It is just too far-fetched. No, it's not. I would bet my cock and balls right now that this guy's from New York. Let's take a look. Because again, you remember the thing I did on Gizmodo where that woman wrote an article on how, this is the stupidest thing anybody said about a MacBook, and then their virtue signaling friend said that I was a sexist because I used the word secretary in the article to refer to my male secretary? That person was from New York. I bet. I'm going to click on this and watch. I bet my cock and balls this person is from New York. Let's see. Let's look it up. Let's look. Because that's where all the that's where all the fake blogging, the fake journalists are. Bam! Bam! Of course! That's where all bad journalists come from. But yeah, this is not a troll. This is dead serious. This article is dead. Don't get it twisted. This ain't a troll. That is serious. This article, Frodo Baggins says, this article proves once an asshole has an opinion, it's near impossible to change it. And again, if this was an article that was written that provided real good arguments, that would be one thing. This article is an argument against the arguments that is in the title and the URL of the article. Rob Van Pelt says, this kind of shit is why Trump won. Francis B. says, wow, this article is hurting my brain. Mike Oxlong says, you might as well call articles like this and Mashable as a whole fake news, end of story. Eric Davies said, to be fair, bought my share of broken phones that happened because the owner tried to replace the screen, dead backlight, long screw damage, or even worse. I agree. There are people out there that screw up devices. Even worse, there are independent service centers out there that screw up devices. And if you screw up a device that you own, fine. I've screwed up devices I've owned. Almost everybody here has messed something up doing their first repair job on anything. And honestly, you have the right to do that. Here's why. If you spend $700 on something, you absolutely have the right to turn that $700 device into a $0 device. It pains me. It pains me to see people screw up, but that is their right. Now, what the right to repair bill is about, it's about getting information. It's about getting good parts. It's about getting manuals out there to people so that they know how to do it right. Wouldn't it be great if there was genuine information that said when a new phone came out, we're using 35 different screws. Most of those screws are a different length. And if you put the screw that's 1/4 millimeter too big into this hole, it will fuck your phone. Wouldn't it be great if manuals existed from day one that said that so that we wouldn't have to wait 1 or 2 years in to figure out that these problems are coming because of long screw? I think that would be great. People are going to screw things up, but here's the thing. You're right. People are going to open their own stuff, but they are going to open their own stuff anyway. It is clear, it is crystal clear that regardless of whether manuals or good parts are made available, that people are going to always open their own stuff. The same argument can be made with teaching abstinence versus teaching safe sex. When you teach abstinence, you wind up with teenage pregnancy. When you teach safe sex, again, it's going to happen anyway. It's not, again, I'm not saying that I want my kids to be having sex when they're 15, 16 years old, but it happens. You might as well teach people who are going to do it anyway how to do it properly. iPad Rehab says opening an iPhone 6 is 2 screws and fingernails. That's it. You have longer fingernails than I do, but point taken. Grey Wolf says the only thing stopping me from opening an iPhone is that because I don't have a screwdriver small enough, which you can buy online for $4 if you want a quality one. It's about $1 if you want the crappy one. Mashable is the Huffington Post of technology. You're giving them too much credit. TCC says, shut up and buy a new phone because we have profit margins to meet. Wasn't Mashable part of the PewDiePie hit squad? I'm not sure, but if they were, again, I've said what I had to say on journalism, and I would not, oh God, I used the wrong word. I'm truly sorry to journalists. I've said what I've said about fake journalists and bloggers, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were. This article hurts my brain, says Hunter. This guy knows nothing about what he's talking about. Eric says it's not really about right to repair. We have that right. It's about forcing manufacturers to release proprietary documentation. Well, what we would be asking for is not, again, we don't want to know how it is they designed the PC board so that something really small can have no interference when you're dealing with USB 2 and with USB 3 and Wi-Fi. I don't want to know what materials they're making the board out of. I don't even want to know the width of the PCB tracks. Traces. I don't want to know what routing they use on the 10-layer PCB to get something from point A to point B. I don't want to know how they keep RFI out of the trackpad cable, which is fairly long, and I don't care about any of that. Location of the fuse that controls backlight. Location of the fuse for the keyboard. These are, and again, when it comes to trade secret law, this is something that just simply could not have been envisioned 30 or 50 or 80 or 100 or 200 years ago. You simply could not envision it because at that time, nobody in their right mind would have seen the location of a fuse as a secret. 50, 70, 80 years ago, any device that had a fuse probably had a fuse that was about the size of your fist. They were labeled. It was not. We could not have possibly conceived at the time that these laws were written that this is the world that we would live in. And I think that the law should catch up with the world that we now live in. How can I open the article without actually giving them page views? Ad block? Ad block. iPad Rehab says, so the signature problem that happened to Tracy, iPhone 6 sudden death backlight. Paul Daniels says, the touch disease on the iPhone 6 Plus is actually turning into quite a quagmire for even people repairing them at the moment. An increasing number of them are collapsing worse and worse. I have people walking in 10 times a day asking about that one. And there are no moving parts. Paul says, headphone jack solved. Apple removed it already. High quality trolling. Quality trolling from Apple. But here's what's going to happen there. Charge ports fail from plugging it in, right? So if you're going to use the charge port twice as much now because you use it for headphones too, if you use an adapter, which I would use because I haven't seen any high-quality in-ear monitor headphones like the Edimotics or the Shores that are wireless. I've only seen the low-quality, no brand name crap on Amazon and eBay. You're going to be using the jack twice as much, which means that you're not going to be dealing with a headphone jack that dies. You're going to be dealing with a charge port that dies much quicker. Why is Lewis's voice a higher pitch? Lewis probably fucked up in setting the sample rate. Actually, no, Lewis didn't fuck up in setting the sample rate. Yeah, Lewis did his job. Did I set the sample rate wrong? Oh, I hope I didn't. Let's see. One way to find out. I should be at 40. Yeah, I'm at 44.1. I guess I just have a high-pitched voice because I haven't eaten yet. The worst thing about denying repair is the ecological damage due to the constantly growing pile of items we cannot repair. I agree. It is not good for the earth to continuously throw things away. iPad Rehab says right to repair vote is done. The article shared 1.9 thousand times. The counter opinion shared 3.9 thousand times. The people have spoken. Well, that's the thing. If you read an article and you disagree with it, would you share it? I don't quite think that is the case. I'm about 15 pages behind, so forgive me if I scroll through your comment. Your purpose as a consumer is to maximize these companies' profit, period. Suedo says you can't even manufacture a motherboard without millions of billions of dollars in machinery and employees anyway. You bring up a very good point here. So, as I said, a lot of these schematics are available. They're available on dark corners of the internet, but they are available. Why is it that Lenovo or Panasonic or Toshiba have not come out with a clone of an iPhone? There is more to creating and manufacturing a device than the location of a fuse or the location of a connector or the value of a capacitor. If this were the case, you would see everybody offering a MacBook. Because let's face it, for a lot of devices, the schematics are not available. For MacBooks, it usually takes 1 to 2 years for them to become available. But they do become available. They are leaked. If I can find these schematics, then I'm sure that Toshiba can too. Why are they not designing complete clones? There's a lot more to successful design in a fast-paced tech world. There's a lot, again, Apple cannot even get this device out without flaws a lot of the time. Again, with the Touch IC defects, with the 6S battery defects, with the iPhone 4, you're holding it wrong shit, with the iPhone 5 power button. These are all known extended warranty programs, known recalls on these. They can't even get stuff out the door without problems, with access to their own trade secrets. So how do you expect other companies to take 1% of what goes into manufacturing that device, and then a year after it's released and leaked or whatever, and then magically just create clones and be successful? Tarman says, maybe this guy was hired by big companies. Hashtag fake news. Damn fake news, I see. What if someone repairs a head gasket and the engine blows up? You know what? I'd say that there's a greater chance of that happening than of somebody slitting their wrists and killing themselves because they tried to fix their cracked phone screen. And there's no law against people doing that. Kate says Lewis already has access to schematics. Once he gets access to genuine parts, he's going to start manufacturing complete brand new copies of Apple's original intellectual property. Ha! Hell no! The last thing that I would ever want to do is design something as crappy as an iPhone or MacBook. I will design a machine with USB-C ports that work with any dongle, not the Apple one. Actually, it would be kind of smart. Let's get rid of all the ports. Then let's make it so that you can only use video out or USB via dongle. Then let's make the machine so that it only works when you use our dongle. Great idea. Great idea. We'll get rich. If only what I was saying was not true. Sadly, it is. It is reality. The Fruel says, this article is so retarded I'm having a hard time believing a person wrote this seriously. Rob Van Pelt says, seriously, you can source your own LCDs and screens for cheaper than iCracked that won't kill your phone. Yes, iCracked is known for selling expensive parts to the people who are part of the franchise, and they are also usually not the best quality. About 2 years ago, around the summer of 2015, we stopped doing iPhone repair. It's not something I particularly enjoyed doing. And once we could not buy original screens. Again, what we prided ourselves on is the screen we were putting on your phone was pretty damn near exactly the same as what was on there when you took it out of the box. I used to take pride in that. As soon as I could no longer buy that, as soon as I could only buy refurbs or copies, I got out of the game. There are a lot of places that won't do that. They'll give you a refurbished screen. They'll give you something that somebody, again, the ones where the glass just pops out of the frame, or the ones where it came out of somebody else's dropped phone, so it's got new good glass on it, but the LCD had been dropped God knows how many times, and is closer to failure. I don't want to do that. If I can't get original parts, I'm just not going to, if I can't get good stuff, I'm just not going to do the repair. And it's on our own company website. We don't offer iPhone screen repair anymore. We can't get original screens. I don't want to give shit to people. But he is correct. While there are, again, even though I say that a lot of the screens available are crappy copy ones and also refurbs, there are also decent refurbs out there that won't kill your phone. You don't have to put in a screen that is a cheap, crappy copy into your phone. There are many options between total cheap garbage and original that will not cause your phone to burn your ear, expand, burst, or go on fire. And the right to repair bill is about getting more of those parts into the hands of people who want to do the repair. Frodo says he's done a really shitty job shilling. Brian says Mashable writers aren't that smart. Paul says iCrack probably got paid nicely for this. M1251 says, what? I cut myself reading this blog. I'm going to sue you. Oh, fuck. Get the lawyers. Tarman says, my Apple rip-off screen I put in myself is working just fine. According to Apple, if you change the brake pads, it's no longer a Chevy or whatever. That was a good story, yes, when we were lobbying for the right to repair in 2015. By the way, one of the big reasons that I'm bringing my cell phone this time, and one of the big reasons I'm putting $800 into wireless mic setup, and a big reason I'm buying a real phone that I can stream from without lag, and the real reason I'm going to be paying about $200 to $300 a month for internet when I go up there, the real reason that this is worth it is because I want you to hear it. When the Apple lobbyist says something that is completely ridiculous, I don't want you to take my word for it that is what they said. I want you to actually hear it. So in 2015, I was told by an assembly person that a lobbyist had told them that when somebody like us replaces a chip or replaces this or replaces that it is no longer a MacBook. It is some other kind of device. But we give it back to the customer and we don't tell them that it's no longer a MacBook, which means that the repair shop is misrepresenting the device back to the customer, which is fraud, which is why we can't give these people schematics and blah, 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 blah. Yes, if I replace an ISL 6259, which, by the way, you can't buy in Mouser, and guess why the fuck that is? You have to buy it from God knows where. But when I replace that ISL 6259, your MacBook is no longer a MacBook. What the fuck is it then? Like, is it a helicopter? Is it a cat? Is it a fucking recliner? Like, what? You can't make this shit up. And again, this is why I'm willing to spend thousands of dollars on recording stuff so that I could live stream this when we visit. And it's also why I'm more than happy to follow them around the country, because you need to hear this from the horse's mouth. I don't think we're going to get something that's that bad a troll. I think that they will have better trolling available this year, but it's something. Zach was here, says you shouldn't be allowed to purchase original parts and repair your own shit, because if you do, we can't milk more money from you by repairing shit we intended to break eventually. You get it. Oh no, my live chat window froze. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. My Dell. Oh, fuck. How many pages did I miss? You can't stream from this Dell. Can any of you hear the fan on this thing? Like, I'm capturing a screen. What I'm doing right now is I'm capturing a screen that is not moving. So, and the fan is spinning. I mean, that's sad. Sometimes they scratch the IC part number, which is BS and pain in the ass to replace. Yeah, that's the other thing. You can't read. Again, you used to be able to. A resistor would have a color code on it. That was back when you could actually fit colored bars onto a resistor. Glory days! You could actually see the colors in the resistor. So even if you didn't have a schematic, you knew how to replace that resistor. Capacitors had their ratings written on them. Now, none of that is possible because of how small they are. And most ICs are so small that you can't even print the name of them on them. The whole idea with the trade secret thing is that we want access to trade secrets, and we do not. We simply want access to information that was never considered or intended to be a trade secret when these laws were originally created. We want access to what nobody could envision we would not have access to later on in time. This is a complete abuse of a trade secret law. I probably missed 10 pages of chat. Ah, well. William Chang says New York equals shit stain of journalism. Yep. It's 12:06, so it's about time to head out, but I still have 30 pages of chat to go through here. One of my favorite things about calling the Apple Authorized Service Provider the other day was the guy who is an Apple Authorized Service Provider for iPhones, and he has never heard of the iPhone 6 Plus Touch problem. What the fuck, said iPad Rehab. If you don't have a recording of that, I just don't believe you. I'm sorry. I refuse to believe that the Authorized Service Center is that stupid. I just don't. What country was this Authorized Service Center in? Did you call like official Apple Authorized Service Provider of the fucking Antarctica or something? That's impossible. That's impossible. Proof or it didn't happen. Why is Apple allowed to make parts with known issues and they aren't held accountable, says Boomchild? Because people will still buy them. Amazing marketing. When you buy Apple products, you're not always buying a product. You're buying into an experience. And when people buy into that experience, they buy into every part of the experience, including the part where when the product doesn't work the way it's supposed to, they blame the user and then fuck you in the ass and tell you that that's just the way it's supposed to be. Most companies sell a product, but Apple sells an experience. And you buy into the whole experience. My fan is spinning. This thing has, what kind of potato CPU does this have that live streaming and a non-moving screen causes the fan to spin? Lewis, doesn't it seem like people who advocate against the right to repair also like to perpetuate the concept of a lack of total personal responsibility? Open your iPhone, your warranty is void. I agree. Again, if I open my phone and I destroy it, I'm not going to sue anybody. It's on me. I did it. Lewis, I want to get some of the tools you have listed, but I am on Amazon.ca since .com doesn't ship to Canada. We have a Canada link below, so if you click on the Canada link below, which, by the way, would be much appreciated, if you click on the Canada link below, you can search for each one of those tools, and you can still buy them. Sometimes you can even buy them by the same ASIN number. So often when you go to Amazon, you'll see an ASIN number for a tool, so you can buy it from the same person. If that's not available by the ASIN number, then you can just find it by the model number of the equipment, which should be in the title. But we do indeed have an affiliate link for Canada below for Amazon, and if you use it, that would be awesome. What else do we have here? Is this streaming? No, it is not. This is not streaming. This is inside of your head. You have schizophrenia. Seek help. This is not streaming to anybody but you. How's the weather in New York? Surprisingly good today, but it won't last for long. Okay, I think I've gotten through just about every legitimate question, which means it is about time to go. So, as always, I hope you learned something, I hope you've been entertained, and I hope you've been a little bit more educated on the right to repair. I do hope that you will tune in on March 9th if I am actually able to pull this off and stream the whole hearing live. It may be boring, it may be interesting, it may be entertaining, and if I can't figure out how to get internet or I screw something up, then you won't see anything at all. But I will be making my first attempt to be able to do live streaming of cool events in the field. As always, thank you very much to the people who clicked on the Amazon links below and bought stuff from Amazon. We do get a commission when you click any one of those links. We have them for Germany, we have them for the UK, we have them for Canada, we have them for the US, we don't have them for France. I would just like to reiterate that France is the only country that never accepted our application. France is the only Amazon selling country that we applied to that did not accept our application. But if you live anywhere besides France, in a country that accepted our affiliate account application, and wish to get us a commission by buying stuff on Amazon, do click links below. Much appreciated. Thank you to all who have already done so, and I will see you in the next video. Or maybe not. I can't stop this video because when I click on Open Broadcaster, it is frozen, which makes me wonder if I'm still streaming. It makes me wonder if I've been streaming at all for the past hour. Yeah, my computer is clearly frozen. You can't stream on an Ultrabook. Never try to record video on an Ultrabook. I can't believe I actually thought that I could record video on this. I was actually going to, instead of trying to stream off the phone, I was going to have the camcorder, HDMI output to the laptop, and have this encode and upload to YouTube while tethering to my phone. This thing froze recording a static still screen. I'm stuck. I can't click to stop the stream. I don't really know what to do. Come on, Dylan Spurn 13. Okay, now I'm getting that little hourglass looking thing. Come on. Stop the stream. Oh man, I'm doing too much. Live audio processing and capturing a still window is too much for this laptop. Oh man. Still, yeah. So how do I leave? Pull the battery. I can't without opening the bottom of it. Pour water on it. Yeah, great idea. Press and hold the power button. Okay, fine. We're going to turn this thing off, and that'll be it.